In 2018, a nonprofit organization distributed $500 to every adult in Ahenyo, a village in western Kenya. For many recipients, this amount was roughly equal to what they earned in an entire year, and most families had endured extreme poverty for generations. The only requirement was that participants agree to follow-up conversations with researchers after 2 years. The goal was simple: to see whether a direct infusion of cash could help people escape poverty. Still, there was reason for skepticism, as many past aid efforts had failed to deliver lasting change. Starting in the 1960s, charitable groups significantly expanded their efforts to combat poverty, investing billions into education, job training, agriculture, infrastructure, and healthcare programs. These initiatives aim to provide the knowledge and resources needed for long-term economic independence. However, when economists began rigorously evaluating these programs in the late 1990s and early 2000s, the findings were often unexpected. Through randomized controlled trials comparing groups that received aid to those that did not, researchers found that many interventions had little measurable impact. Providing school supplies did not consistently improve learning outcomes. Job training programs did not reliably increase income. Even nutrition education showed mixed and inconsistent results. These discouraging outcomes extended to newer strategies as well. Around this time, microfinance gained widespread support as a promising solution. By offering small loans to individuals in developing economies, it was hoped that entrepreneurship would flourish. While borrowers generally repaid their loans with interest, the programs rarely led to meaningful increases in income or long-term financial stability. Faced with these repeated shortcomings, researchers began exploring a controversial alternative: giving money directly to people in poverty. Many critics dismissed this idea, believing recipients would spend the funds quickly without achieving lasting improvement. But when researchers revisited Ahenyo 2 years later, the results challenged these assumptions. Business earnings had increased by 65%. Families were saving more and consuming more food. Children were performing better in school. Rates of alcoholism, depression, domestic violence, and inequality had all declined. Importantly, these results were not isolated. Since that initial study, direct cash transfers have become one of the most extensively researched approaches to poverty alleviation, often outperforming traditional aid programs. In one large-scale study across hundreds of Kenyan villages, local economies grew to more than double the value of the cash distributed within just a year. Even so, direct cash giving is not a complete solution. Poverty is deeply rooted and often passed down through generations, requiring sustained and multifaceted efforts to address. Because this approach is relatively recent, its long-term effects are still not fully understood. For instance, a study in Uganda that began in 2008 found that while cash transfers improved incomes for several years, those gains faded over time, only to reappear later during the economic stress of the COVID-19 pandemic. These patterns suggest that the impact of cash transfers can shift depending on broader circumstances. Despite these uncertainties, the underlying idea behind direct cash giving offers an important perspective. Traditional aid models often assume that outside organizations know what communities need most. In contrast, cash transfer programs trust that individuals living in poverty are best equipped to decide how to use resources to improve their own lives. For one person, repairing a home might be the key to stability. For another, investing in a child's education could open the door to future income. The resources to support such efforts already exist. Wealthy nations collectively spend around $200 billion each year on international aid, while private foundations hold an additional $1.5 trillion in assets. The challenge is not a lack of funds, but a willingness to rethink how that money is used. Addressing extreme poverty may ultimately depend on trusting the judgment and priorities of those who experience it firsthand.